Welcome to day 13 of the 30-day video challenge and the story of me. Today we're going to travel way back to middle school and again give you a little bit more insight into the foundation of my tenacity and my grit, I guess you'll call it. There was an opportunity to let's see how to start this. In middle school, I ran track, and my favorite event was the 1 mile run. There was a 2 mile run, but I didn't like that so much, so I always focused on doing the 1 mile run. But an opportunity came up I think it was Bloomfield Hills or West Bloomfield, to do a half marathon. And a half marathon is 13.1 miles. So looking at that opportunity, it was like, well, sure, why not? Let's give it a try. So a couple of weeks before the event, I decided to see how that felt, or how to go that far, and I ended up running about 3 or 4 miles, and it was tough. It was a definitely completely different race than running a 1 mile, which was 4 laps around the track and very strategic and how to do each of those laps. And so my dad was a runner as well growing up, so that's kind of where I got the bug from. And so he was going to run the half marathon with me. So about 3 or 4 days beforehand, he informed me that he was not going to enter us into the race because he was pretty sure that I wasn't going to finish. And so that kind of stung, and I'm like, all right. So back then when I was young, it was, you're not going to tell me what I can't do. So I was pretty dead set on proving him wrong. So we got to the event the morning of, and we were doing our warm-ups, and we had our last opportunity to enter into the race. And my dad pretty much stuck to his guns of, no, we'll just run. We're not gonna worry about it because you're not gonna finish anyway. So we got to line up by the start. We couldn't be officially in the start, and the gun goes off, and here we go. We start running. Now this was through the neighborhoods and streets in the city, so it was I guess considered somewhat of a cross-country race, but it was all on concrete, so it wasn't on the dirt and the other things like where you had to wear your spikes. We were running through neighborhoods and streets. So the great part, or I guess the overall topic of this story, is going to be called the wall. So if you're a runner, or if you talk to a runner, you hear about the infamous wall, and it was something I had never been introduced to before, nor had I heard about until that morning. So right around mile marker 4, started getting pretty tired, and so the doubt starts creeping into your head of, well, maybe I'm not going to finish. Maybe my dad was right. And right around mile marker 5, I discovered what the infamous wall was all about, because I was done. Mentally, it was just, okay, I'm gonna stop. I just can't do this. And fortunately, because the race was run through neighborhoods, there were always people, cheering and on the sides of the race. And there were multiple water stations and break stations as well for you to get hydrated. So part of my ego at the time was, well, I'm not going to just stop in front of all these people. They're cheering. So I'll get up to this next corner. And when we turn the corner, I'll stop there. So we turned the corner, and guess what? Well, there were more people cheering. So another group of people were there. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just get to this next part. I'll get to that hill, and then I'll stop there. Got to the hill, and well, there's still people cheering. So it's like, all right, well, I'll just at this water station, I'm done. I can't go anymore. So the interesting thing about the wall is it's a mental barrier and not a physical barrier. And once you get through it, you discover that there's a whole nother side to the race. So fortunately, I was able to trick myself into each of those little stops and get to that spot for whatever reason and choose not to stop and keep going. So that was from mile marker 5 to about 6.5. And suddenly, once I started seeing signs for mile marker 7, it was like, I'm at mile 7, we can still go. And so I got through that mental barrier of the wall and kept going. My dad was with me the whole time, so we were just pacing. He was pacing with me. I'm sure he could have gone a lot faster. And suddenly, mile marker 7 turned into mile marker 8, turned into mile marker 9. And it's like, okay, there's only about 3 or 4 miles left of this, and now after the wall, you start to get into what's known as the runner's high. And that's a natural part where your endorphins start to kick in, and you actually start to feel, in your groove or pretty comfortable about the race or the way that you're running. So I had never experienced the wall. I had never experienced the runner's high. So it was a very eventful morning for me. Finally, we hit mile marker 11, and it was like, there's only 2 miles left. I'm not stopping now. There's nothing that's gonna get in my way. So we finally, got to mile marker 13. Like I said, the race is 13.1. Turned up and saw the finish line. And again, because we weren't official entrants in the race, we weren't allowed to cross the finish line. And so once we got to the finish, we had to break off to the side and finish the race. But definitely was in the middle of the pack. Was definitely one of the youngest. It was I was in 8th grade at the time, and so it was a very good experience. And again, just tying back into that honey badger mentality, when you start accomplishing things that, number one, you didn't think you could do, but then number two, that most other people, your peers, aren't able to do. That has quite a boost to your confidence. And so at that young age, getting that boost took me to the next level once I entered high school. And I was doing sports all throughout, of basketball in the winter, cross country in the fall, track in the spring, baseball in the summer. So I was always actively doing sports, and I had different levels of success in each one of those. But definitely learning about the wall and that mental barrier at such a young age, I think really made a strong impact on my identity and my character of who I am today. So that's part of what I'm working on in the karate school, is trying to find those challenges for kids to allow them to break through and understand that they're able to do a lot more than they think they can, and hopefully shape and improve their lives for them. So the wall is day 13. There you go. There you have it. We're almost halfway there. I'll talk to you tomorrow.